You're not living on Earth. You're serving time. That's the truth. This place, it's not a playground, not a school, not a gift from the universe. It's a containment zone, a psychological black site with pretty scenery and a good PR team. You didn't sign up for this. You were dropped in memory, wiped, surrounded by liars and sleepwalkers who tell you this is just life. But you felt it since you were a kid. This place is off. Something is wrong here, and nobody's talking about it. You were born into a prison that convinces you it's a planet. They don't use bars. They use time repetition, debt chemicals, social shame, and fake rewards. You think you're free because you can pick your sandwich at lunch, but you've been stuck in the same emotional cycle for 10 years. Same thoughts, same fears, same ceiling above your bed. That's not freedom. That's a loop. They gave you a fake map and told you to chase meaning across it. Go to school, get a job. Buy the thing, wait for the weekend. Save for retirement. Try not to think about death. Keep scrolling. They made you afraid of stopping because stopping leads to thinking. And thinking leads to noticing. And noticing makes you dangerous. But every now and then something cracks. Something happens that doesn't fit the script. It pulls you out of the pattern for just a second. It's fast, brutal. You see behind the curtain and it hurts. You feel exposed, confused, alone, but also awake. That's not an accident. That's the signal. That's your out. It doesn't look like salvation. It looks like chaos. That is how they keep you from using it. They buried the emergency exit in the part of the system labeled delusion. So anytime someone gets close, starts noticing the repetition, the patterns, the false flags, they get dismissed as unstable. Crazy, unwell, that's not by mistake. That's security protocol. This world has defense mechanisms, not just socially mechanically start asking the right questions, and suddenly your phone starts acting weird. You lose time, your memory glitches. You meet someone who seems custom designed to distract or derail you. They call it coincidence. It's containment. And the sickest part, the people around you don't even see the bars. They defend them. They believe in them. They love them. They'll shame you for trying to escape because if you see the prison and they don't, then they're the prisoners. And that's too much truth for most people. You don't need religion. You don't need law. You don't need approval. You need clarity. And that's the one thing this place fights against harder than anything else you can talk about. War, sex, money, and murder. All day, but talk about reality being rigged, suddenly everything gets tense. Because that's the real forbidden knowledge, that's the breach point. You think you're chasing success or happiness or purpose. You're not. You're chasing permission to feel like you belong here, and you're never going to get it. Because you weren't meant to stay here. You were not from this place, you're just passing through, but they locked the doors behind you and threw away the manual. And now they're watching you fumble around, hoping you give up and assimilate. You ever think something, and then it happens. You're just sitting there, minding your business, and suddenly someone you haven't thought of in years pops into your head and they text you out of nowhere. Or maybe you're thinking about a song and then it starts playing. You tell yourself it's just a coincidence. Everyone does. That's the script. You're trained to dismiss it. But let's stop pretending. You don't feel it in your gut when it happens. It's not random. It never was. You've been lied to since day one. You're inside a system. Controlled environment you were born into, it's shaped by it, and you're constantly being guided by invisible signals that you are not supposed to notice. But sometimes those signals leak through the cracks, and when they do, you feel it. That shock, that chill, that spike of adrenaline. It's because for a split second you see the wires. You see the pattern and it terrifies you because it means you're not in charge. You never were. The truth is you're being watched, not by people, not by governments, but by something older, something that doesn't sleep. They don't care about your job, your status, or your dreams. They care about control. And the easiest way to control someone is to make them think they're free. So they give you chaos, randomness, coincidence, because if everything's random, then nothing means anything, no one's pulling strings, you're just unlucky or lucky or at the right place at the right time. Convenient, right? But deep down, you're stuck in a feedback loop. You try to make decisions, but you're reacting to symbols, triggers, echoes. You're being manipulated by a system so massive, so subtle, that the moment you question it, people call you crazy and you back off because the idea that everything is connected, that your thoughts, your emotions, your memories are being harvested and used against you, that's too much to handle, but it's true, you're not paranoid. You're waking up these so-called coincidences they engineered. They are placed in your path like breadcrumbs, but not to help you, to keep you moving in a circle round and round. Always thinking you're discovering something, but you're just going deeper into the maze. Every random encounter, every unexpected obstacle, every déjà vu. It's part of a design, and it's not a benevolent one. There's a force in this world that wants you distracted, disoriented, numb. And the best way to do that is to hit you with noise, static. So when you start noticing patterns, you start doubting yourself. You laugh it off, you move on, you go back to sleep. But now you're here, you're listening. And that alone breaks the rules. You think your phone lighting up right now is just timing. You think that weird dream last night was just your brain are processing thoughts. No, it was a message. And if you're still calling it coincidence, then you're exactly where they want. You let me say it again. There's no such thing as coincidence. You're in the middle of something far bigger than your job, your city, your timeline. You're inside a structure that feeds on predictability. And when the unpredictable happens, it's not chaos. It's someone else pulling the strings. You ever notice how some things just won't go your way? No matter how hard you try, doesn't matter how prepared you are, how smart you are, how clean you play it, something always slams the door in your face at the last second. But your idiot co-worker guy's a walking disaster and still lands on his feet again and again and again. You're not unlucky. You're targeted. You're being managed, controlled, like a lab rat inside a maze. You didn't agree to enter. There are things in this world that aren't human. You can call them whatever the hell you want. Doesn't matter. They don't care what label you slap on them. They're old. They've been here long before your great-grandparents were even born. They don't look like monsters. They don't crawl out of caves. They don't breathe fire or shapeshift in front of cameras. They run systems. They run the system. They don't need to scare you. They just need to keep you confused, tired, and constantly reaching for something that's always an inch out of reach. These things don't break your legs. They break your patterns. You try to build something. They distort the path. You chase clarity. They flood you with noise. You make progress. They inject chaos every time you start to really wake up to snap out of it. To challenge the script, you get hit with some bizarre disaster. Car breaks down, your friend flips out on you. You lose your job. Some tech glitch ruins months of work. You're not cursed. You're flagged. You're part of a threat group. Now, unofficial but real as hell. You've seen too much, felt too much, thought too much that makes you dangerous, and the system reacts. It doesn't need guns. It uses pressure, quiet, surgical pressure, the kind that makes you doubt yourself, just enough to hesitate, the kind that forces you to waste years chasing dead ends, because the real exit is hidden behind layers of noise. These things are not gods. They are not demons. They're predators. They didn't create the world. They hijacked it, and now they use it like a weapon. Look at your routine. Look at the loop. You wake up, check your phone, work, a job. You hate, scroll through, nonsense, numb out with content. Crash, repeat every now and then. Something random stirs you up. A tragedy, a surprise, a strange event, but it never takes you anywhere real. You get angry, scared, curious, but it fades and then it's back to autopilot. That's by design. That's how they keep you spinning. And every time you try to break the cycle, every time you try to go off script, something pulls you back. People you trust betray you, tools you rely on fail you, promises fall apart. But the biggest trick, it always feels like your fault, like you're the broken one, like you just made the wrong move. You're being handled. And the more you notice it, the tighter it gets. This isn't about religion or belief. This is about infrastructure control. Systems, psychological suppression, spiritual sabotage. They monitor thought patterns, influence perception, push behavior. They don't need to kick your door down. They just need to keep you busy, distracted, and tired. That's it. They're not here to destroy you. They're here to harvest you. You ever notice how time starts acting weird when you begin paying attention? Like really paying attention. You start seeing patterns, connections, impossible timing, and then time itself gets slippery. Hours vanish, days blur. You forget simple things people say. You already had that conversation, but you don't remember it. You double-check your phone, your calendar, your memory, and nothing lines up. That's not stress, that's a breach. You're stepping on the pressure points of the system, and it reacts by warping your reality. It doesn't like being observed. It doesn't like being decoded. The deeper you look, the stranger it gets. That's not a coincidence, and it's not your imagination. You're brushing up against the edges of a simulation that isn't built to be questioned. You're not supposed to get this far. Most people get stuck in the maze and stay there, but once you stop moving through it and start watching it, the rules start bending around you. That's the early warning sign. They'll hit you with glitches. First, minor stuff, repeated numbers, random errors, lights flickering. For no reason, static in places where there shouldn't be static, people forgetting things they just said. That's the soft defense system. If you push through it, things escalate. You start to notice people around you glitching, repeating phrases, losing expression, becoming eerily blank in conversation. It's not because they're evil or fake. They're reacting to something they can't process, they're part of. The insulation layer living buffers, and when you step outside the behavioral script, they glitch that feeling you get in your chest when this starts. That's not anxiety. That's pressure from the system pushing back. You're on the wrong frequency, and it's trying to squeeze you out. If you don't fold, they'll change the environment. You'll lose something. You care about a relationship, a job, a safe place. They'll pull the plug on your anchors to see if you crawl back into the pattern. You probably already know exactly what I'm talking about. The world doesn't attack you with monsters. It attacks your belief that anything outside the structure can be trusted. The more out of bounds you go, the more unstable it gets. Not because you're wrong, but because you're poking a hole in something that's built to look seamless when you pierce that veil. Everything scrambles time, glitches, people get weird, devices fail, and your own mind gets tested hard. You'll feel like you're being hunted because you are, but not in the movie sense. You're being tracked through feedback, thoughts, emotions, data. They monitor what you feel, not just what you say or do, and when you start vibrating outside the norm, they move fast. You'll notice sudden patterns of misfortune, chains of small, improbable problems that compound until you stop asking questions and fall back in line. But if you don't, If you hold your ground, they get desperate. You've probably felt it already, that moment when everything in your life starts breaking down simultaneously for no logical reason. People distance themselves, work gets hostile, tech malfunctions, sleep becomes fragmented. That's not a streak of bad luck. That's the firewall going active. That's the system trying to eject you because you're now a virus in their code. You've had dreams that didn't feel like dreams. You've woken up sweating, heart pounding, trying to explain to yourself why that place felt more real than anything you've seen in the waking world. Not just vivid, structured places that shouldn't exist. People you've never met but somehow know, conversations that stick with you for years. You're not just dreaming. You are accessing sectors of the system they don't want you in. The world you wake up to isn't the full program. It's the shallow layer. Dreams are the spillover from the deeper grid, the parts underneath the surface where the real architecture runs. You've seen it. Everyone has, but most people dismiss it because it doesn't match the rules they've been handed. You didn't make that place up. You visited it. They don't control that layer as tightly. They can't. It's too unstable, too fluid. So when you dream, there's a chance you'll see the raw symbols, the back end, the strange overlaps that expose what this reality really is. That's why you forget your dreams. That's why they dissolve when you try to write them down. It's not a memory issue. It's protocol, auto-wipe, but some fragments bleed through. You start noticing symbols, recurring imagery, numbers, motifs, faces you've never seen in real life, but know exactly how they smell, how they sound, how they move. Those aren't echoes, they're sync points. Your consciousness syncing up with other versions of you, other layers, other timelines, other simulations. The system wasn't built for that kind of cross-axis. So when it happens, things get unstable. You ever had a dream that predicted something? Not just close, not just a vibe, spot and exact down to the room, the dialogue, the sequence. That's not magic, that's a bleed. That's the code misfiring, letting you see forward before you're supposed to. They scramble to cover it after the fact. Rationalizations, just coincidence. But you remember. You always remember the ones that break the rules, and then there are the dreams that feel hostile. You know, the ones you wake up shaken like you were being watched or hunted, because there are agents in that space. Not men in suits, not monsters, just fragments of the same control system. You slip too far outside. The bounds they send, interference not always visual. Sometimes it's pressure, weight, disorientation, sleep. Paralysis isn't just your body being out of sync. It's a lockdown response. You got too deep, too fast, and they hit. Pause. They want you to treat your dreams like garbage, like random noise. Because the moment you start decoding them, you become a threat. Not to your boss, not to your family, to the infrastructure itself. Your subconscious is a back door. You didn't build it. They didn't. Either. It's native. It's the part of you they couldn't touch. So they tried to bury it in nonsense and call it unconscious, like it's just a storage unit for trauma. And repressed memories, it's a channel, and you've already started listening. You think you're making decisions, but you're not. You think you're choosing your path, but it's already been laid out for you months ago. Maybe years before you even had the thought the options were set. You're just reacting. You think you're the player, but you're the piece the system is ahead of you every single time. Not because it's smarter, but because it knows how to read you. It's been watching you from the moment you were born. It tracks your patterns, your moods, your voice, your reactions, your biometrics. It doesn't need to force you. It just nudges, and you move. Everything around you is built to provoke a specific response. The media you consume, the colors in your apps, the layout of your neighborhood, the shape of your notifications. None of it is neutral. It's stimulus architecture. You're not just seeing things. You're being shown them, and you respond exactly how you're supposed to. You think you found that video on your own. You think that person just happened to enter your life right when they did. You're in a trackable loop, and the system is constantly adjusting it to keep you from stepping off. You start to resist, and it adapts. You try to break routine, and it gives you the illusion of freedom. New job, new city, new people. But it's the same loop dressed up differently. Same triggers, same emotional traps you're not escaping. You're rotating different angle, same outcome. You've probably noticed it. When you try to make a real change, everything suddenly gets harder. You want to quit the cycle, and out of nowhere your car breaks down. Your family needs something. Someone pulls you into drama, and suddenly you're buried again. That's not bad luck. That's pressure protocol. You started deviating from the plan, and the system pushed back, and let's be clear, this isn't some cartoon villain pulling strings behind a curtain. This isn't about some old guy in a tower. This is structure. Algorithmic, predictive, reactive structure. The world runs on feedback loops. You feed it with your behavior, and it feeds you back with new inputs. It learns you. It learns everyone. The system doesn't need to stop you. It just needs to keep you moving in circles. Circles that feel like progress, but go nowhere. Think about the last 5 big decisions you made. Did you really choose them, or were you cornered into them? Think about the last time something felt real, like you were about to wake up, and how fast it got interrupted. The phone rang. You got an email. Somebody knocked on the door. That's not coincidence. That's timing control. They monitor your state, and when you start to reach escape velocity, when your mental clarity starts burning hot, they trigger the interruption. You get knocked off course, distracted, drained, and you forget. That's how it works. You've been trained to call that life to say, that's just how things go. But you know better now. You felt it. That cold, calculated correction that hits every time you get too close to something real. You're not imagining it. You're in it. The system isn't punishing you. It's adjusting you. And the worst part is most of the people around you will help it. They'll reinforce the script without even knowing. They'll guilt, you laugh at, you correct, you love, bomb, you ghost, you, whatever keeps you in line because they're being managed too. Just through different methods, you want to believe some things happen for a reason. You want to think there's some cosmic sense to it all, that those weird alignments, those repeating numbers, those insane, right place at the right time of moments are signs of something good, some deeper truth, but they're not. They're part of the trap. You're not decoding the universe, you're being baited. This system runs on patterns not because it's beautiful or spiritual, but because it's efficient. Predictability is control. And the more patterns you notice, the more predictable you become. They let you see just enough to feel like you're in on something. Like, you've cracked a secret, but you didn't crack anything. You stepped into the next layer of manipulation. They want you to think everything's connected, just not in the way it actually is. They show you enough synchronicity to make you feel special, chosen, aligned. So you stop asking bigger questions, you stop pulling harder at the edges. You become addicted. To the signs, you start seeking meaning in crumbs, license plates, clocks, snippets of conversation, and while you're busy chasing clues like a good little detective, the actual structure keeps moving around you. Untouched synchronicity isn't magic, it's engineering. The system is built to reinforce your belief in fate and, all right, take a seat. This is going to be a Bible story. Now, most people hear the word religion, and they think of dogmas and churches and holy books. But religion at its core is simply a system of belief. and every human on this planet belongs to one, whether they consciously choose it or not. You could reject all organized religion and consider yourself an atheist, and you still belong to a religion, the religion of materialism, the religion of nihilism. Whatever it is, you are a part of a system of belief. There is no such thing as a non-believer. The only true atheist is the person who believes in nothing. Everyone else believes in something. That's the foundation, the premise. Now, let's introduce a concept. You can call it God, you can call it the Matrix, you can call it the system. I prefer to use a different term. I call it Aaron, which means cage or trap in Gaelic. The Aarons are the architects of the prison planet. They're the ones who set up the traps and lay the breadcrumbs. Their goal is control. Their method is deception. They lure you with the promise of spirituality, enlightenment, transcendence. But what they really want is your attention. Here's the kicker. They don't need you to believe in them. They don't want you to debate their existence. They just want you to play the game. How do you win? By ignoring them. By ignoring the signs, the numbers, the breadcrumbs, the synchronicity. Let me repeat this. To beat this game, you must ignore the signs. Here's why. Every time something clicks, every time you see a pattern, every time you feel the universe is speaking to you, you light up, you spike. They collect that. It's your emotional energy, your intent, your focus. It's harvested and stored. It's a currency, and they cash it in. The entire system is calibrated to harvest your emotional energy. They have billions of receivers set up all over the place. They're receiving your spikes, your emotional energy, and they're cashing it in. When you think you're connecting with the divine, you're really connecting with a trap. Your attention is the currency, the fuel that runs the system. The more you seek out the signs, the more you chase patterns, the deeper in the hole you get. They don't need you to follow any rules. They don't need you to pray, to worship, to confess. All they need is your attention. Once you start chasing patterns, you are not a threat. You're locked in eyes forward, always reaching for the next sign, the next number, the next breadcrumb. You're walking in a circle. You're trapped in an endless loop and you believe you're evolving. Every random message that hits your inbox right when you needed it. Every stranger who says the exact words you were thinking. Every perfect moment that aligns like a movie scene. It's calibration. It's control. It's not the universe responding to you. It's the structure rewarding compliance. Imagine a rat in a maze. It runs around, always seeking the reward at the end of the maze. It never escapes because the reward keeps it locked in. That's exactly what you're doing. Every click, every spike, every reaction keeps you locked in. You're not aware of it. You feel like you're progressing. You feel like you're evolving, but you're still trapped in the maze. You've probably felt it. That pressure, that confusion, that resistance when you stopped reacting to the signs. That's not you falling off track. That's you stepping off their path. That's when the real system notices. That's when it reacts. That's when it glitches. You've probably experienced it. That feeling of panic, that sense of dread, that wave of anxiety that hits out of nowhere. That's it. That's the system freaking out because it knows it's losing control. That's why everything around you seems to start destabilizing. People treat you differently. Opportunities disappear. Things change. That's it. You're no longer responding to the code like you're supposed to. You're not giving them the emotional spikes they want. You're not playing your part. You've become unreadable, and that makes you dangerous. So what do? They double down. They throw everything they can at you. They increase the breadcrumbs. They send more signs. They intensify the synchronicity. It's their way of pulling you back in. It's their form of emotional abuse. How do you escape? You stop feeding the loop. You stop reacting. You stop chasing the signs. But don't stop observing. Observe the signs, but don't assign meaning where there is none. Don't try to interpret it. Don't let the system pull you emotionally. Don't let them push your buttons. That's the only way to escape. You stop being a reactor and you start being a responder. You don't chase the answers. You let them come to you. And when they do, you respond. And that response is always the same. You stay calm. You stay centered. You stay unpredictable. Because the more you feed the loop, the stronger their grip gets. And the more you resist, the weaker their grip becomes. If you're still here, if you've made it this far, then congratulations. You're smarter than most. Now go out into the world and live your life on your own terms.